Can you believe it's almost time for Aggie football? It feels surreal, man. It's crazy. This feeling right now, so much hype is building up, so much excitement because obviously it's a week one game. And even against a lesser opponent, that's like unwrapping a Christmas present. You don't know exactly what you're going to get. You have some expectations and hopes, but you finally get to get the reveal in week one. Oh, and it's a new staff too. You get Mike Elko. Elko's era. It's time for the new era of Aggie football. Jay Bateman on that defense, Elko on the defense, Colin Klein's offense, the Tommy Moffitt effect. We get to see all of that stuff. And the transfers. Typically you have one or two freshmen, a couple of newcomers you're excited to see, players kind of elevating in their college tenure, in their college arc, up and comers. But now you get a bunch of established players and in some cases elite players, and you get to see that all happen in game one. So exciting. Connor Wigman's back. Is he himself? What is he? What level of player are we going to get from him? Are we going to see what we saw before? Is there a ramp up? We don't know. That's all part of this. But on top of our business, you're also playing freaking Notre Dame and a really, really good version of Notre Dame at that. So it's a real test in week one. You're going to get answers about yourself. You're going to get answers against premier competition. And it's going to be so much freaking fun, guys. Are you ready for football? Are you ready for Aggie football? Because it's hitting you hot and fast, man. It's going to be an early test, but it's also going to be a season implications type of game. Because you win this game, you feel like you have so much on the table because it's, like I said, a litmus test. It tells you what you need to know. What if this offense goes out and performs against Notre Dame? What if the defense does what it's supposed to do against this young offensive line and kind of dominates there? What if you get exactly what you want? Everything's on the table. And obviously that can go the other way. We hope that doesn't happen, but it means so much. And that's why this week is feeling, to me, it just feels crazy, man. I've not felt this much hype in a long time. Maybe the Jimbo Clemson week, but that was week 2. You already got your glimpse in week 1, so it was a little bit spread out over the first couple of weeks. This is all now, and it's all going to happen against Notre Dame Saturday in Kyle Field. But today, I want to make this one about the Aggies. I want to give my last say, my last comments, my last questions, expectations, all of that about the 2024 Fighting Texas Aggies. But look out for my live stream on Thursday. That's when I'll get back into the Notre Dame game talks. And some of the stuff today will be centered around Notre Dame because that's obviously the early test where we'll get the answers. But it's really going to be focused on the Aggies today. So it's my final thoughts. 2024 season right around the corner. So guys, if you could like and subscribe, that'll help me a lot. I'm really trying to get more active than ever this season. I'm going to go ahead and tell you like kind of the schedule going into the year. I'm going to be going live Mondays and Thursdays throughout the year. Monday, kind of a post-game reaction after we've digested, sat on it. Obviously, it's a call-in show. I want to give you guys a chance to jump on and brag or vent about what we just saw. Thursdays, get more into the pregame hype, give you guys the floor, give me score predictions, give me keys to the game. I'll be dropping at least 3 typical videos a week. It'll be a post-game immediate reaction. After the game, within 2 hours after the game, I'm just going to record a video without listening to the coaches' pressers, without rewatching the game, and just kind of give you my emotional, visceral reaction to what we just saw. Hopefully it's better, because the last 2 years, I've been making a lot of sad videos. I'm kind of tired of doing that. Hopefully they give us something to be happy about, and it's the other side of the emotional spectrum. On Mondays, I'll drop a more fleshed out and full post-game reaction, where I went back, watched the film, took notes, listened to the coaches, and I'll give you a full, long breakdown. That's definitely my favorite video to make on this channel since I've been doing this. That's been like the bread and butter of this channel. I love making that video. That'll be on Mondays. And then Tuesdays, I'll drop my pregame video previewing the next matchup for the next week. And like I said, we'll get back into that on the Thursday live show. And I'll sprinkle other shows in here or there. It's going to be an exciting season, guys. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But we got to see a lot of things play out, and that's what I want to talk about today. So our last few talking points, let's kind of review everything, what we're looking for in week 1, questions that need answering, strengths, weaknesses. We'll just kind of touch on everything in this final preseason video. Let's start on the defense, because my list of questions is certainly shorter on the defensive side of the ball than it is on the offensive side of the ball. So let's go through the defense first. What is this secondary? Look, I'm very bullish on it. I think it's going to be really good. But we don't even know who the starters are yet. And, that gives you a little bit of anxiety. Who has kind of separated themselves? I know it's been a great competition. Elko's called it maybe the deepest and most versatile room he's had in the last 6 seasons. That includes some really good secondaries at Texas A&M. Who are the players? Who are the stars? I feel really good about these safeties, guys. I think this might be the best safety duo we've seen in a long time at Texas A&M. Whether it's Bryce Anderson and Dalton Brooks, Bryce Anderson and Trey Jones, whichever combination we get, I feel really good about it. And I think it's Dalton Brooks. That's going to be a really, really good safety duo out there. Bryce back in his natural position. Dalton Brooks kind of coming on end of last year. Got kind of some sporadic looks throughout the year. I'm really excited for it. But at corner, who's that lockdown guy? Who's that guy when you're looking at the offense and you see a star receiver? Who's going to go, okay, you can cover that man one-on-one. We're confident there. Who is that guy? We don't really know yet because it sounds like Tyreek Chappelle is playing nickel. Now, he can shift out, and a lot of guys can shift around. But who are your go-to corners? I'm really excited for Will Lee. I'm really excited for Des Ricks. Sounds like B.J. Mays and Javen Thomas are going to get some burn too. It's going to be a really good rotation, but who are your high-end corners? It's going to be better than last year. I'm going to say it one final time right now. I've said this 20 times throughout the offseason, and you know this. The cornerback position straight up lost Texas A&M multiple football games last season. If you had better corner play, you probably beat Bama. You have better corner play, you probably beat Ole Miss. You have better corner play, you probably win the bowl game. That has to be fixed. It will be fixed, but to what end? Big question. Let's see. A lot of questions surrounding the secondary, but I feel really, really good about it. We've gotten great reports out of the linebacker room coming out of camp, but how exactly do you fill the shoes of Edgerrin Cooper? Look, Edgerrin was huge, man. He got after the quarterback. He spied the quarterback, contained the quarterback, and he got himself involved with so many plays with sheer athleticism and want to and feel for the game. Can DeShields, Williams, or Sanford at least scrape the surface of what Edgerrin Cooper was? Where's Torian York? What's his level of play? Are we getting a leap from Torian? Because Torian was good last year. If we got last year's Torian York just with some maturity and tangible bonuses that we think he's going to have, he's really bought into the leadership role. What if he takes a leap? What if he takes a step forward this year and he becomes, an all-SEC caliber type of player this year? Because he was a freshman All-American last year. What if he takes a leap this year? Really excited for this linebacker room, guys. I think it could be really dang good, but we have to find out who the starter is and how that rotation is going to look. But like the secondary, I'm bullish on it. Maybe not as good as it was with Cooper, but I don't think it's taken a big step back, guys. I feel pretty dang good about it. Defensive line, let's go, man. Let's see this thing. Now, to relate this to the Notre Dame game, I know I'm not doing a Notre Dame preview right now, but we need to see some plus play from this D-line versus Notre Dame. That's going to tell me a lot. You got to take what's given to you this season. You got to capitalize on opportunities. A lot of times, last couple of years, you didn't take what was given. You didn't capitalize. Missed opportunities, man. You have an opportunity against this young offensive line that's getting broken in at Kyle Field. You got to break them while they're getting broken in. It is time to go out there and, dominate. If it's not just this huge domination, that's okay. Give me plus play. Win the battle. Exert your will. Let's see it. Bring it on, defensive line. Now, defensive line, linebackers, question we've talked about, talking point over the offseason. What's the interior run defense going to be like? Because Notre Dame's going to test that. They're going to go at it. You lose McKinley Jackson. You lose Edgerrin Cooper. Those are really important players in run stop. Same with Walter Nolan. You just got to admit it. You refilled nicely in the portal, but I don't think you directly filled the shoes of a McKinley Jackson that just impacts offensive line and crushes rushing lanes. You don't have that dart to the football in Edgerrin Cooper anymore. Now we feel good about the replacements, but let's see it play out. That's something that could be perceived as a potential weakness on the team. But as we've gotten reports, I feel better about it than I did coming out of spring. So let's see how that happens. I feel good about this pass rush. Third down is going to be an absolute movie. It's going to be a motion picture. It's going to be so fun when you get teams in passing scenarios. Let's see it. Let's move to the offensive side of the ball where we have a plethora of questions that need answering. If you're bullish on Texas A&M's chances in 2024, you're bullish on offensive improvement because what we saw last year is not going to get you over the hump this year. You're banking on improvement that you haven't seen before with the O-line, getting a healthy Connor Wigman back, running backs, getting them in space, getting your receivers involved, getting playmakers involved in the game. Let's break it down. Why bury the lead? Who is Connor Wigman in game one? Does he pick up right where he left off? Does it take him time? Does it take him reps to get back into his rhythm? If so, how long? A few plays, a few passes, getting hit, a couple drives, a couple quarters, a couple games? That could make a difference on the year because we know what this first 3 weeks of the season means to Texas A&M. I've said it, If A&M goes 3-0 to start the year, I'm shifting my expectations to where I think this is a potential playoff team. And, that potential's there now, but I'm ready to start leaning into that if you start 3-0. And if Connor Wigman takes time to get back into the swing of things, I don't know if that's on the table. How much is Colin Klein willing to run Connor Wigman? Because we've seen Colin Klein use quarterback run as a staple of his offenses for years now. It's been a thing at Kansas State. Connor has wheels, but are they willing to give him the ball and say, go run, quarterback power, zone reads, RPOs? Are they willing to let him take contact after the history of quarterback injuries A&M's had over the last few years? He's coming off of injury. I'm sure they'll let him run a little bit, but how much do they lean on that? And are they shifting the offense? Are they going to play more to personnel? I don't know. Colin Klein really likes to lean on that. So that's something to keep an eye on. And how does Connor Wigman look running the football? Really exciting. I feel good about it. Sounds like Connor Wigman's been very healthy for quite a while. He was able to go in spring. Probably got healthy a couple months after that, full go. Maybe they do run the quarterback a little bit more this year. Maybe they do risk it. There's always risk in college football. And what's his rapport with the receivers? And honestly, I don't have a big worry about this. I'm bringing it up because obviously he's coming back from injury. It's been a while since we've seen him play. But he's been throwing balls to Noah and Moose since 2022. And like I said, and he was able to practice in spring and start building rapport then. But we got to see what these receivers do themselves. We heard rumblings out of fall camp, a very tight-lipped, sealed-door fall camp, that there were some drop issues specifically early in fall camp. Now, I don't know how substantiated these rumors were, because why is that the only leak we're getting when everything else has been so tight-lipped? I don't know. But from reports, very, very low rumblings that there were drop issues. We saw Ja'Day Walker have drop and assignment issues early last season, but he largely rectified that down the stretch of last season. I hope that's not a problem. Can Noah Thomas finally live up to what he's shown in practice and in spring and in spurts in game action? Elko said in his last presser that he thinks they have a wide receiver one, and you can only imagine that's Noah Thomas. I mean, we had insiders saying he was the best offensive player on the team last spring. Just, a go-to receiver, a guy that can go up and get any ball. And we know he has that in him, but can he find health? Can he find consistency? Can he shake the injury bug? He's done it so far in camp. If he's healthy, he's a factor in this offense. He is, but can he be a receiver one? We saw in spring, they want him to be that guy. We saw them target him on RPOs, give him the ball at end arounds, target him in the red zone, the typical red zone stuff, but also in those RPOs and end around kind of plays. They really want him to be a wide receiver one, and I think he has the ability. It's just finding consistency. Can Ja'Day Walker pick up where he left off at the end of the season and not regress to what we saw early in the year when he was kind of making a name for himself, coming from Grand Valley State, getting into the swing of SEC football? We saw him really take that thing and run with it down the stretch, man. 4 80-plus yard performances to close out the year. If he picks up where he left off, and if Noah Thomas is Noah Thomas, simply put, that's a good receiver room, man, because you feel at least decent about Cyrus Allen and Moose Muhammad as the second two receivers if those two guys are absolutely peaking this year. This receiver room has a high level of variance, guys. Is it going to be drops and consistency? Or are you going to see this 1-2 combo of Ja'Day and Noah be elite? They have it in them. We've seen it. We've heard about it. They just got to do it. But we also got to see how the rest of the room, shakes out. What level of play do we get from Cyrus Allen? Really good reports coming out of, camp in spring. He won a starting spot over Moose Muhammad. Moose will come off the bench. Make no mistake, Moose Muhammad will play a role this season. He's coming off the bench, but that doesn't mean he's not playing. He's going to play a lot. They're going to get him involved. Off-script guru, man. He just makes stuff happen. Let's get him in space. Let's give him opportunities. Hopefully he can find some consistency. And who's the 5th and 6th receiver in this rotation? We heard Colin Klein say he likes to use around 6 guys. Jacob Bostic, Ashton Bethel-Roman, Isaiah Williams, Micah Tease. Who's it going to be? That's something we need to see. Can Le'Veon Moss stay healthy? And I'm going to put it as simply as that, because you've heard me say it for 2 years now. You've heard other people say it. You've probably thought it. I think Le'Veon Moss is a 1,000-plus yard SEC bell cow if he can stay healthy. He's going to play a huge role this year. He's a clear running back one in the tentative depth chart. You got to take that with a grain of salt. A lot of oars on that depth chart. But where there wasn't an oar was next to Le'Veon Moss's name. It was Le'Veon Moss, and then it was the rest of the running backs. If Le'Veon Moss is healthy, and you get offensive line play, we'll talk about that in just a second, this guy's a 1,000-yard SEC back in my mind. What do we get? Big year for Amari Daniels, too. We got to get something from E.J. Smith. Health is at an absolute paramount importance, even more so than just, having a good Le'Veon Moss. The room needs Le'Veon to be healthy because it's pretty shallow. I mean, you feel good about what you have, but you lose one, you don't feel so good anymore. That's where you're at with the running back room. But that and literally every offensive note I just mentioned, massively dependent on the Aggie offensive line. 4 years. 4 years of subpar offensive line play. Regression. Subpar play. Players falling. Assignment misses. Whiffs. Can they right the ship? I'm inclined to say that they will. I think this offensive line has 3 players you're really, really confident in right now. It's Zune and Basantis on the left side. You're going to lean on that a lot. I think you run behind them a lot. I think you feel good about their protection on the left side. At right guard, you feel really good about Armaj Reed Adams. People have raved about him, players and coaches and insiders alike, since he got on campus. He's going to start, whether it's right guard or right tackle. You got to figure out center. It's Fayu. It's Naboo. You got to figure out right tackle. It's Crownover. It's Fothery. If we're going off the tentative depth chart, it's very likely that Fothery and Crownover will be an ongoing battle for the start of the season. We heard Elko a few weeks ago say that some battles might extend into the season, not only to game week, but into the season. I believe right tackle is that position. I think you'll see them both play. They both bring a really high ceiling, but a very low and defined floor that we have seen recently. With Crownover, it's inconsistency. It's transitioning into a full-time right tackle coming out of high school as a tight end, not as a true right tackle, leaning into that build, leaning into that technique. He's got to find consistency. And for Fothery, it's obviously returning to that form where we saw him, quite frankly, dominate Will Anderson in 2021 and have really good moments that season, only to regress under Steve Addazio. But I'm very bullish on the line overall. I think Mark Naboo is a serviceable center. I think Fayu brings experience. I would lean Naboo if that's the true battle that we're looking at right there. These are good, big players, some of which have NFL futures. Trezun, Basantis, Fothery did. Let's see if he goes back to form. Naboo, money year for him. Let's see where his trajectory is going now. I just foresee a more solid group given the pieces you have there under Adam Cushing. Adam Cushing's done some really, really good things really, really recently, as opposed to Addazio, who was an O-line coach back in 2009, 2010. Maybe he was a good O-line coach then, but kind of left the position group ranks for a while only to come back and, be deemed as one of the biggest position group failures in recent Texas A&M history. He's probably a good coach in his own right, but it just didn't work out here, It didn't work out. He's gone, guys. And that was the scapegoat, and rightfully so. You have to point the finger when it's just so consistent and so it persists across that entire line. It's Adam Cushing's line now, and it's Colin Klein's offense. Can they help him out? I'm inclined to say they will, but we're going to find out week 1. Real quickly on the tight ends. I'm curious to see how deep Colin Klein goes into the bag here. We know Trey Watson's the likely starter, but is he going to be trusted as a key blocker on running downs? He's a more slender tight end. He's not small, but he's not a big tight end. You'd look at him as a receiving build. Can probably seal guys off, seal off maybe a linebacker. But if you're going to use him in the power running game as a power running blocker, how does that work out for you? Are we going to get that leap from Theo Mellon-Orstrom that some of us are, loosely anticipating that has been hinted by Colin Klein in his last presser? What do we get from the Swede? I want to see good play from him. He looks really impressive in camp, just body-wise. Like he's mature, man. He's a year younger than his classification, early enrollee. Where is he at? Is he going to play a lot? Is he going to be a key blocker, a key player? Then he's Shane Calhoun out of East Carolina. Is he going to have a big role? What kind of role does Donovan Green have early in the year? This is another high fluctuation point on this team. Because, a lot of unproven players there. And, you call Donovan Green unproven in his current state coming back from injury. It can go one of two ways in the tight end room. And the tight ends will be a very important position for Colin Klein. Going to use a lot of 12 personnel. Going to have a tight end on the field more often than not. At least one. Very often, too. What level of play are we getting from these guys? They're going to have to be solid to do what Colin Klein wants to do. So that's a big question mark for me. Let's see. a few more overarching things, kind of just, stepping away from offense, defense. Terry Bussey. He transcends the offense-defense borders. He's in special teams. He can play defense. He can play offense. He can play quarterback, receiver, running back, whatever. How do they use him? We saw on the depth chart, returning punts. He was the first listed punt returner, second listed kickoff returner. So for sure, returning punts. If he's listed as the second kickoff returner, should we believe that they're going to have 2 kickoff returners or 1 primary kickoff returner? Is he going to get opportunities there? I don't know. Interested to see it. He's a guy you want to see the ball in his hands at least sometimes, offensively or on special teams. Where do they use Bussey? I believe he'll get several touches in game 1 is what I think will happen, like we've been saying the last couple of weeks. They need explosive players. They need home run threats. They need big play guys. Terry Bussey is that guy. How do they use him? Special teams. How's the punting game? Tyler White, the starting punter this year, he was the number 1 punter in the nation a couple cycles ago. Are we going to get that booming leg like we had with Braden Mann? Are we going back to that, or are we going to see some inconsistency? We have a special teams coordinator now. I'm inclined to say we get some very solid special teams improvement this year. You can't have as many blocked field goals, man. We had 3 critical ones last year. 2 were critical. 1 was a foreshadowing of things to come in the first game of the season. And then 2 came to bite us in the butt. We had the blocked field goal versus Ole Miss, blocked field goal versus Alabama. Critical plays in both of those games. That's got to get cleaned up. And this is a big one. Perhaps the biggest one of the video that I've mentioned yet. How does this team perform in situational football? More so, do they capitalize on opportunities? Time and time again last year, this team didn't take what was given, whether it's end-of-half scenarios, capitalizing on turnovers, capitalizing on good field position. But more importantly, can this team finish? Late in games. How does this team fight and strain when you're tired? Does the Moffitt method pay dividends? Does that stuff pay off late fourth quarter situations? Are you able to keep your mind when you're tired and you're in a battle and you're leaning on each other? You're sweaty, you're dirty, you're gross. How does this team play? Take what's given, play to your standard, play to your personnel, which we think Colin Klein will do, and finish strong. If those things happen, you're in for a good 2024 football season. It's time for a new era of Aggie football, folks. I'm so excited, man. I feel really good about this team, but you got a legitimate test in game 1. Even if all those things come true, Notre Dame's really freaking good. You can still lose a game, but at least let us say you left nothing on the table. You left nothing in the locker room. Everything was on the field. That's what we want to see week to week in 2024. It's time to put up or shut up. Guys, that's going to conclude my 2024 preseason coverage. I have a whole playlist where I did position group breakdowns, breakout player candidates, sleepers on the team, a season prediction where I give you a game-by-game win-loss record. Go back and check it out if you need to cram on some Aggie content before going into game 1. I will see you for the final time before game 1, Thursday night. We're going to talk all about the Notre Dame game. I want to give you guys the floor. I want to hear keys to the game. I want to hear score predictions. If you miss it live, you can always watch the replay, but that's going to be my last say before we get into the game. But here's to a fun and successful 2024 season, guys. I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for watching. Gig 'em.